Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Bikinis After Babies. Thank you so much for joining us today. As always, I am one of your hosts, Mandy Rochon, here with your other host, IFBB Bikini
Hey,
Pro,
everybody.
Gillian
Thank you
Hughes.
so much for tuning in today. Welcome back to another episode. We're so excited that you're here.
Yeah, we're excited for this episode. We have a really fun topic, and it goes perfect with, really this time of year. But before we want to get into that, let's do our little updates, of course. So, Jillian, how is your prep going? I saw your most recent post, so
Yeah,
give us a little
so we are
insight.
finally seeing some progress and some change. Um, like I had the surgery at the beginning of January for my wisdom tooth, which so not really a big deal, but I did have to take off like 4 days from the gym, and my diet just like wasn't. I had to eat like soft foods I like couldn't really chew, so like I just wasn't, ideal. But it was just a little bit of a bump in the road, and then it just seemed like nothing like really kind of picked up after that. I was feeling a little bit discouraged, and winter is just it's like a hard time of year. January is, it's very cold, and before I panicked, I was like, let me just trust the process, see what happens. And James didn't really make any major changes. I explained, about the surgery and whatnot. And he's like, let's just see how the next couple weeks goes. And I woke up this morning and I had a drop finally. Like I've literally been holding around the same weight since like middle of December, and it's really annoying. But like I think reflecting on like the notes and stuff that I have, like we had Christmas in there, I had like just a few little extra bites of things. Like I wouldn't say it was like a
Yeah.
month of like absolute perfect dieting and perfect training. Like we had all that snow and, workouts. I mean, I stayed in the gym, but there was some days where, I didn't get all my cardio in. So anyway, I felt like I was in a good groove now for like probably the last like 2 weeks, and then finally seeing progress, and posed with Victoria today, and that like went really good because I've been paying a lot of attention to just like the differences from an NPC posing to IFBB posing, and it's really not different. Like the Pro League, they really don't have those elaborate routines anymore. Like, Olympia 3, 4 years ago, like the routines were so elaborate. There was always a walk to the back. And Victoria actually explained this to me today. She said the big game changer was when Maureen won, and at the Olympia, she did not walk to the back in her routine. She faced the back, but she didn't take any steps back. And since then, a lot of pros have kind of pulled it out. Even some of the routines that I've saved from the Olympia are pretty, I wouldn't say short and sweet, because they're not short. Like they hold their poses a lot longer, but there aren't like, these tons of turns and tons of sass and pizzazz and whatnot. And I think there's a couple reasons for that. Like, the judges are sometimes like, hey, we need like 30 seconds, 35 seconds.
Yeah.
Um, and also, like, the more you do, the more opportunities you're giving the judges to find things about you that are, not up to par. So, anyway, so I've been,
Yeah.
practicing a lot. And then so we had a really good session. So, yeah, so we're still aiming for June. If it works out that I can be ready sooner, that would be great. I just think with travel, it makes it like, hard for me to compete any earlier than that, really, other than getting it done and out of the way very early before all the cheer travel really picks up. But I just don't think it's going to happen. So if I'm if I'm ready early, that would be great. But I'm just eager to get out there and get feedback and see how this little shorty stacks up against, all heights. And
That'll be cool to see you with all heights on stage because to never have seen that before. But like you said, I remember listening throughout, last year and the year before that of like the pro judges talk about that, talk about like the length and all the fluff, I should say, and like posing routines for
yeah,
pros. And they really didn't like it. They wanted them to like, get to the point and things like that. So I definitely can understand where it's finally
yeah,
like
just
dialing back a
simple
little
and,
bit,
you
you
know,
know.
show the poses that you're being judged on, which is front and back pose. Like, you don't need to hold a certain pose, like weird, pose for too long, or even just, some girls are really super confident up there and have all these, different parts of the routine that they want to showcase. And, I don't hate being on stage. Like I like it. It's fun, but I don't all eyes on you. So it's a lot of pressure. And so I want a routine that I'm like super confident in, that is simple and, shows off all the things that I want to show off, and that I don't have to be like, overthinking. And because when you overthink, you can really see it in the person's face, that they just look like, they're scared
Yeah.
to death. And I think that's a big trend I'm seeing. Like when I'm watching pro shows and I'm seeing girls that are, consistently being pulled into that top 5, they hit that stage with so much poise and confidence. And, I have to kind of have that right away. And I should, after 19 years, really have more of that. But I think I've always been, just a little bit more nervous on stage. So, I've got lots of time to keep working on that. So yeah, and then our athletes are crushing it, and we've got like a huge team of girls that we're preparing for all the spring shows. So like lots of energy and excitement like around that. And yeah, that's it for.
Yeah. I I feel like I talk about like the show schedule once a day. Like at some point, somehow throughout the day, I have like with all my clients, like just getting ready for all the different shows. Like it's like we talk about certain things and, make sure they're practicing, answer any questions. And it's like the downtime, but it's
Mhm.
where all the work comes in. It's where you're putting all your work in right now because you're
Yeah.
waiting to hit that stage. So it's a I want to say it's kind of like a fun time. It's before like all the adrenaline, I should say. Like right now, it's kind of just like enjoy the work, weightlifting, eat your food, relax, practice. And then when you get like, 3 weeks out and then like peak week and then you're there, like the adrenaline is
Yeah.
just so intense. So, and as coaches, we go back to back to back to back with that instead of like some athletes, you do, a show or two and then like you're done for a little bit or, for the summer. Whereas like us, we're like, this
Yeah.
show, this show, this
Yeah,
show,
it
this show.
doesn't really stop. I mean, that show
It
schedule that
is,
we have lined out has like I think like 15 team shows on it. It's like 2 pages, but I love that too. Like I love being a part of their day, and that it motivates me
yeah,
and gets me excited, and it's fun. I'm excited for all the girls for sure.
me too. And this will be really fun because this will be my first year to be able to actually
Yes, I
be
won't have to
like with the
Photoshop
team.
you into the
So
team
it's
pictures.
different. Oh my gosh, that Photoshop, that one photo you did was
Girl,
so
I
good though.
know.
It was so good. I was like, I feel weird posting a Photoshop photo, but it's very like it
You were
works
there.
because
We
I
just
was
could not
there.
get
I
you
just
for a
couldn't
team
stop.
photo. And so I was like, I'll Photoshop her. And everybody thought I
Yeah.
was joking. No, I really did. And you literally look like you're really with us in the picture. That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you can really be in the
Yeah,
pictures this
yeah,
time.
that was
So yeah, that'll be really fun,
I
for
know.
you, and just to be able to,
Yeah.
be a part of all that craziness in a different way and not be, actually expediting
Mhm.
shows. But I feel like I have done it several times. I've expedited and I've judged. And I think as a coach, it's an awesome thing. As a competitor, that's good to have that experience. So, I think it will, that time you spent, well, you said like you learned so much through doing that. Hmm.
Oh, so much. Yeah, I'll always be like, I'll look back at that time and it just so much, so many people. And I look forward to not just being with like our clients, the girls, but like to be able to actually watch them. Cause that was one thing, like I tried really hard when I expedited, like when our girls were on stage, some situations I could, some I couldn't. Um, but there is just so much going on. I don't
Yeah.
get a chance to watch them and see things. And of course, the angle that I do or like could see them,
Yeah.
it doesn't really show me a lot. So now I'll be able to actually like see and be like in front,
Yeah.
like in
Yeah,
the
that's
crowd
true.
and
I
be
didn't
able to
think about
see. So
that. Yeah, because
I'm
you don't
excited for
really,
that.
from the side of the stage, you don't
Hmm.
really get to see, what the judges are
Yeah.
seeing. So, yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So how about you? What do you got for us? What's new in your world? Give us some updates on the journey and how things are going.
Yeah, so I have had a few little updates. It's like a good blend of like happy sad or happy, yeah, happy sad. But no, I share a lot on my social media too, so I don't have to go into like too great of detail. But my the gym has been great. I've been really working on my food, just because really when you're working with infertility, they really want you to have like a good amount of healthy fat. So it's really different than a bodybuilder diet. So I've been really working on like fluctuating that. So that's been really good. But I did some labs and my hormone levels are good, which is great. So I was very excited for that. But my egg reserve was a lot lower, really low. So this just means that I don't have as many eggs as like a normal 35-year-old. So it's just kind of them saying like, hey, like you should kind of move a little faster in like this journey instead of like taking your time. So it just was kind of like, you know, you and I talked about it. I was like, man, I never even
Yeah.
thought about like running out of eggs at 35. So I'm like, and so for those of you listening, which this may, I don't mean to sound like, I don't know how to say it, but I have learned there's a lot of women that just don't know a lot about reproductive health. Like if you just get pregnant easily, you really
Hmm.
don't have a deep dive into it. So like I've actually had to explain this to different aged people like this last week. But you are born with as many eggs as you're ever going to have. You can't get more. So when you get older and you do what's called an AMH test, and I really, really recommend, it's just an easy blood test. It's nothing fancy. Like just say, hey doc, do an AMH test. Like, okay, like it's not hard. Get it checked and like just know your egg health.
Yeah.
Like that's really, you know how many you're working with. And because like let's say you're in the bodybuilding space and you want to do this for a long time and you're not sure if you want to have kids, but you know you want to like, you know, maybe you do want to like dabble in PEDs, maybe you do want to diet really really hard, you know. This will give you that opportunity to at least know where you stand and you
Yeah.
can freeze them and
Yeah,
worry about it
that's
later,
a
you
really
know?
good point.
So yeah, so I, you know, just thinking of all that, it's something that's like not your OB or somebody has to recommend it to like want to check that or you have
Yeah.
to be like in the fertility journey. Anyway, so it's not it's bad low, but it's still like
Okay.
doable. So it just kind of hit me a little hard over the weekend, but other than that, just, you know, kind of going through the process. I'm on cycle 2 of Clomid and started taking that. You know, try this month and next month to get pregnant. And if I can't, then we move. And then
And you have a
after we move,
vacation
we can do
too.
IVF. We have to wait. So, yes, we have the vacation. So, the vacation is like right around the corner. And I have like an Amazon shopping cart full of like tropical shit because all my stuff is packed. And so I'm like, I just need to hit order. And I'm like,
Yeah.
haven't hit order yet. But I need
Love
to. I
it.
need to.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm
gonna
very
be so
excited for
nice.
that.
That'll be
Mm-hmm.
great just
Yeah.
to get away and go to the beach and get some warm weather.
Mm-hmm.
And I love taking a tropical vacation this time of year, but I think for like the last like 4 years I've been in prep in January, and so it just doesn't happen. But we have so many trips
Mm-hmm.
for competitions and for bodybuilding and for bodybuilding and see, prep brain's already started. I mean, like our athletes, and then my shows, like we're gonna go to Chicago for the Chicago Pro, and it's my husband's birthday, so we're gonna take like a long weekend and make that like a little, like, little couple trip. And there's even like the Hawaii Pro is like around like November, and I'm like, man, it's a lot to think that I could still be prepping in the fall. Like I don't even know what the season brings, but I could get out there and be like, I need to go and build a little bit and then like come back later. And so I've thought about that too. But I don't know. Of course, when I
Oh, it'd be
know,
so
when you
fun to do
start
the
a prep, you're
Hawaii.
like, it's never ending. My supply of energy. I will compete until I die. And then you get halfway through and you're like, I need a break.
Yeah.
So we'll really see. And we also
Yep.
have cheer. We're leaving for Atlanta. We go to Atlanta for cheer right before you go on your trip. And then we have a competition in Nashville,
Mm.
Indiana, and then we have Orlando. So I still have all that travel as well of all the bodybuilding stuff. So
Ah, it's a lot. We just have our travel and then we move. But our move, it's tricky though, because like when our move is done, we're like,
uh-huh.
we have to do renovations, but we did agree that we're gonna wait to do renovations other than build our offices because we need that done. But we're gonna wait to do any type of renovation until like we get like our first cycle and second cycle of IVF. And I'm being pessimistic, I should say, because I'm like, it could happen the first time. I could get pregnant before like whatever. I'm just being like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just used to it, I guess. I'm used to it like not happening, so I'm preparing. But like we have to travel for that. So like when it's time, our clinics in Colorado Springs, so like when it's time to do like retrieval and transfer, like we have to go out there and stay out there for 5 or 6 days. So like that
Yeah.
takes up like a lot of time, money, different things. So it's kind of like, and then when I have to like, I'm trying to like make all our shows and everything. So it's just a lot because I can't
Yeah.
plan it. Like it's all like I take a test. It's interesting. I'm like on medication. I go get checked constantly. And then one day they're like, oh, you're ready. take a shot, I have like 36 hours to get to Colorado. Like it's no joke. And they're just like, you have to be here at this time,
Yeah.
at this precise time, and like,
Is
let's
it like
go.
really
And I'm like,
straightforward to go
okay.
from
So
Kansas City to Colorado? Like, is there a direct flight?
we're gonna drive. So I asked about this. We're gonna drive only because, for one, we both of us obviously work from our
Yeah.
computers, so we can just pick up and go. My son, same thing. He can do school online on his computer, pick up and go. So we already have people willing to like watch our animals, so we're not worried about that. Um, Aaron knows that we have to stay in Colorado
Yeah.
Springs for like 5 or 6 days. So he wants to like he wants to take mountain bikes, all our stuff, because even though I have to be in a hotel room, like I can get up and like walk around and stuff, but like he wants to like go biking and do different stuff with Carson and like, take me out, things like that. So we want to just be able to like have. Now, if we make it to like our second or third cycle, yes, we'll fly. Like I'm sure we'll fly by then. But the first time we're going to drive, see how it goes. We've drove to Colorado Springs before. Gosh, what is it? I think it's 10 hours. I think.
Well, at least you have like
I could
somebody
be wrong. I think
like
it's around
you can
that though.
swap out like driving, like I mean
Aaron drives the whole time.
but like yeah,
he
you
he
can
drives
do
the
other
whole time.
stuff. You can get your
It's been
hotspot
like
going
that
and
like
work
our
on your
entire.
computer, and I've done that before, but when we looked at possibly driving for some of these chair trips, I'm like, I mean, I'm gonna lose work time, and usually when we fly, I'll just work on the plane, which is great because then once we like touch down in Cheertown, it's like no, there is no working. We've had just a strange like start to the season though. Like we've only had one competition. Like normally by now we've done like three, but we had one that we pulled out of because of the weather, and it's just like really been weird. So I'm just gonna.
Yeah, we have a soccer tournament we have a soccer thing this weekend, and it's outdoor. Yeah, it's outdoor. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we do it. I don't know yet. We'll see how Saturday goes. We have two
Kansas
outdoor
City people are
soccer
crazy
games.
though. Like even like the Chiefs Stadium is freaking outside. What's wrong with you people?
Yeah. Like, okay. You know what? I will say this, and it's so funny because my brain doesn't comprehend it. And I talk to Aaron about it all the time, and he tells me, he's like, you just don't understand. Because I say that, because my mother-in-law is obsessed with the Chiefs. We have plenty of friends that are obsessed with the Chiefs. They will go in sub-zero, they will go in these like temperatures that you are not allowed to like be outside in because you'll die. And they'll still go. And I would tell Aaron, I'm like, okay. Trying to make this really short. My mother-in-law came in town because she had a gift to go to the Chiefs game. And so the Chiefs game wasn't starting till 12:30, I think was like kickoff or something. I was like, okay, well, what time do you need to leave our house to get to like the game? My brain's thinking like, 11,
I know exactly what you're gonna say.
something.
I want to be there 4 hours before so I can tailgate in the parking lot. Yes, in the freezing
and I'm
cold.
like, but it's frozen. It's
they don't
frozen
feel the
outside.
Cold.
So yeah, sure as shit. They got up at like 5 a.m. and I think
have you ever
they
been
had to be out there by like 6:30 or something.
Because I have years ago, and it was
I
fun.
haven't.
But I tell you, by the time the game started, I'm like, I'm ready to go home. Like I was really tired.
Yeah, that's what I think about. But see, I think that's exactly. I just think it's not me, and so I can't like. I feel like it's a boatload of fun, and I totally like. Everybody has their cup of tea, and I'm like, that's just not mine. But like, I get it. Like, I get it. I get some people love it, and it's like I have girlfriends that are like always out there, and I'm like, they look adorable too. They're always wearing like the cutest.
But
things.
I bet you get that question a lot.
Like,
I bet when people like, say you're from Kansas City, like, oh, Chiefs fan, yeah.
Oh yeah. Which I'm like, I watch them on the TV at home. So, but
we do. We said we were not going to take too long to. I'm really tired today, though. I will tell you, like, it's really.
you are too. It's too.
I know,
it's too
I'm
soon
like
for
super
that girl.
forgetful,
It's too soon for.
I'm like, I would like a little nap, but sleep has been, just it's just been. I don't know. It's just been a week, yeah. But anyways, topic of the day, is. I'm kidding.
Oh, come on.
Bodybuilding Truths. Okay. So I really was championing this topic because it's, January, a lot of people, people are kind of starting prep, but like there's nothing coming up. Like I do think that there is the LA Fit Expo is in like a couple of weeks.
And And that's still going on, even though the fires, because I remember reading, they
Yep.
posted about it. They were still
And then
hosting
also the
it.
Arnold. So I mean the Arnold Amateur is has gotten just smaller and smaller every single year.
Their rules have gotten
Oh, have they?
stricter. Do you know that? So, okay, yes. And the only reason I know this is because a long time
I've
ago,
wanted
I
to do
wanted
it
to do the
too,
Arnold
yeah.
Amateur. I remember when you
Yeah.
were gonna do it and they canceled. Yeah, and they did that flippy flop. But there, you at first it used to be just like a normal like pro qualifying show, like if like to qualify, and then like their rules changed to where like only the winners of like overalls could go, and then they like because they can like kind of be different than the national shows. So like I know it got stricter on the amateurs, and I was just wondering if it was because the timing, hair, makeup, stage, everything, and so they were kind of consolidating like
I
the
mean,
amount of
I think they do
amateurs.
give away
That was
pro
my
cards.
thoughts. I don't know.
So you should there should be like a qualification process. But it used to be
Hmm.
an international, more of an international competition because it was, one of the places where Canadians and people that lived in America that maybe had green cards could compete and didn't need to, go back to their country to get a pro card, right? Like, because only like three,
Hmm.
4 years ago, yeah, it was about 4 years ago, did they change the rules for the national shows that they would allow green cards. I know this because I have a green card because I'm Canadian and I live in America. And
Yeah.
so North Americans was the only one that I could do because I was Canadian and had a Canadian passport. But they opened up all the national shows to green card holders. So anyways, so with that change, that made it so that people didn't just have to do the Arnold, they could do other ones. And then also with the NPC Worldwide now offering pro cards in, some of these countries that people are not have,
Hmm.
oh, I'm not going to fly into Ohio. I can go and compete, in my hometown in Romania and get my pro card, right? So that was like a change.
Yeah.
But my biggest critique is that there's like no coverage. Like I still haven't seen the photos from last year, like anywhere. Like there
Is there a live
was,
stream?
but I'm talking about
I
like
don't.
NBC News Online doesn't have stage photos from anybody who did it. So like I was like, well, because the winner
Interesting.
of Bikini is now competing the in the Arnold in 2025, right? So, but it looks
Oh
like she
yes, yeah.
doesn't even show where she got a pro card because there's no photos of her competing in that to where she got a pro card.
Huh.
Anyways, so that for me would be like well, that stinks. Like I would want to, you want to look at who did it last year and see how many
Remember
people there
that
were,
moment.
whatnot. But I mean, the Arnold's so fun. Who wouldn't like want to compete there and then compete on that stage, right? But for whatever reason, they just
Hmm.
don't have the numbers. But that's coming up. So anyway, so other than that, like I feel like there's a lot of people in off season right now. Maybe they ended up their show season at the end of 2024 and maybe they went right into the holidays and looking at the scale or looking at their physique and just not feeling very comfortable. And so we just wanted to really talk about weight gain and give our stories as well as just like some facts and things that will help you to settle into what is a normal healthy part of this sport. You cannot stay clean all the time, and just to kind of just open up that conversation. So
Yeah. And I feel like people say all the time, they understand they don't stay stage lean all the time. Like when I have a competitor, this is very well explained. Like we're going to diet, look like this. This is what you're going to look like on stage. And then just depending feedback, depending on my Soch, whatever it is. After that, we go into a reverse, we go into an improvement season, we take the feedback and we grow. So we always explain like this isn't how you're always going to look. And they will like everybody will always say like, "Oh, I understand. I understand. I understand. I know I won't look like that all the time, but when it comes time to not look like that, it's very different. Your mental state is
yeah,
astronomically different because you're I think you and I talked about this the other day, or you brought it up actually, the age difference. So, like me being 35 and dealing with like talking to people in their 30s and everything, like for them it's a lot different than like somebody in your age group. So, when it comes to like women, I would say around me and my age, when you are needing to be in a calorie surplus, not in like a huge one where you're eating like crazy and losing your shit, but like in enough of a calorie surplus to be able to improve your body, you are going to gain weight. Now, having to convince yourself, hey, this scale isn't of like the judge of all judges right now. The scale can like step aside. I need to look at all these other factors. Like that's important. And I feel like for you, like you were saying the other day, and you could talk about it, like the
Yeah.
generation
Yeah.
of
I
is
think
just so
that
different.
is a factor. When you get to be in my age group in your 40s, you have like a mix of women that are in the gym. You have people who are on the other side of a fitness transformation and they've lost a ton of weight and they can tell you a story about when they were 80 pounds heavier. And so with that um type of a gym goer or an athlete, there's a fear of like ever going back to that. I don't want to gain weight. Gaining weight's bad. Being heavy's bad. Like, the scale going in that direction's bad. Sort of just like lean is good. But a lot of those women are not happy with their body and will say things like, "Oh, I just, I want my arms to look more toned. I want a butt. I don't have a butt." Things like that. And, I always say, "Well, you've got to eat a little bit and gain a little bit to be able to put on muscle." And that can be very, very hard. And also I think, you're dealing with just changes of life in that age range, and there are just so many women that are really battling with just not understanding what's happening with their body and their hormones, maybe dealing with some menopausal weight gain. And so, weight gain's bad again, right? So like that, those are factors as well. Or somebody who's on a weight loss journey and they're just trying to lose weight, and maybe they don't really care how that happens. They just want to see the scale go down. But I think what I've seen as a coach is, if you spend too long in that lean spot and expect to come back to the stage the next year with improvements, like it just doesn't happen. Like, in order to build muscle, you have to accept that there's going to be a different phase of your body. It's like a delayed gratification. Like, I listened to a podcast, which I'll reference this podcast a lot because there was, it was actually a YouTube video. It inspired a lot of what we're talking about today. But it was John Rusin, and he said that it's like a little kid doing homework. Like, you say, okay, if you do your homework, like, you can have cookies, right? Like, if you just spend time in this phase of having a little bit more body fat so that you can increase your calories, you can ease off on the cardio and really put all of your energy, attention, and all of your calories towards building muscle, then the gratification on the other side of that is the body that you want and the muscle that you want, an improved metabolism, like a stronger physique. But sometimes you have to let go of like needing to, have paper thin skin and no body fat in order to build the body that you want. And that's okay, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's a common misconception that we see these pros online and we see them stay super fit. Well, there's a couple sides to this. So we see like all these pro bikini competitors, and like all year round they look super fit. Well, for one, they're not always super fit all year round. You got to remember they're also, most of them are models, and for they have a
mm-hmm.
magnitude of photos, like an ungodly amount of photos, and they post those photos all the time. So you may be seeing something that was actually done
Yeah.
6 months ago. So there's that. So don't let social media kind of confuse you. But then on the other side, like if you are following somebody, like their vlogs or different things, and they are a high elite level pro who is like fit or like lean all year round, there's a couple things to take away from this. It is,
Mm-hmm.
how long have they been in the gym and where did they start? Have they been doing this for like 10, 12 years? So they've built so much muscle that their off season and how they look are going to be different, even though they're probably eating in an insane calorie surplus. I have a friend, she eats so much than like I could think of, and there is no way you would think that of her. But she trains
Yeah.
like a beast at the gym, and she is very regimented. So like it's the same thing. So like when you see pictures and you're like, oh, they're so lean and they're in improvement season. Why do I look like this? It's like, okay, well, how long have you been doing this? A year or 2 years? This is your first improvement season. Like, so there's that to consider as well. Like, don't get so caught up in comparing yourself to like things online because it's impossible. It's an
Well, and I
impossible
think we
comparison.
just, in general, we're a lot harder on ourselves, especially if we've done a show, because,
Oh,
we can look back on our phone and see, like, progress pictures that we took of ourselves in stage condition. And, we are looking at ourselves now, and I look at that right now. And, we're so much harder on ourselves,
mm-hmm.
but to the outside world, there's so many people who look at your off-season body and just think, man, I want to look like that, right? Like, I think that it's cool that we can get in the kind of condition that we do for stage, but I don't really like love it. Like, I don't think I mean, I cover up a lot when I'm getting close to my show because, I'm at the grocery store and I'm carrying, grocery bags, and I have literally veins everywhere, like, and I think if somebody thought that was attractive, I would question their likes and preferences, because it's like, I think it's cool. Like, I'm proud of the work and I know what's required, and it looks so much softer on stage, which is wild. You can look like it, like literally,
Sure.
just skin and muscle and hair extensions, and then on stage you look so much more voluptuous, but that's just how it works, right? But yeah, I just think, I mean, just getting adjusted to the idea that if you want to be successful in this sport, you won't have one body the whole time. You're going to have different ones. And I'll say what's helped me a lot is that my gym, it doesn't have a lot of mirrors. And I love it because I'm not constantly looking at my appearance, like looking at how my body's moving. Like, I remember in one off season, I was working out at a gym and I just caught a bad angle on myself, and I was feeling insecure because, I was adjusting to the off season weight, and it ruined my whole workout and I went home. So I think that's been a helpful thing for me too. Like, I don't dress really any different, but I'm just more critical of myself than other people are not looking at me and picking me apart, and I think over time I've realized that as I've spent time in the sport. But that can be hard for like a new competitor that might just be like, I'm in the gym now and I've gained 12 pounds in my off season, and I feel bad about that. So even though that's necessary in order to maintain optimal hormone levels for some people, not everybody, but for some people, that is, I think it's important for women to have healthy body fat levels, and also just for improving in the sport and being able to make those improvements so that you don't just show up every year looking the same. Because what will happen is, if you do that, everyone's going to outgrow you, and you will just keep placing lower and lower and lower unless you get lucky and nobody good shows up. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being honest. So,
Yeah. And who really wants to win
well,
like
it's
that,
not
to
going to
be
happen because
honest, I
the
mean,
sport's so competitive now. Like, you can't count on, being
mhm,
one person in a class and, oh, I got first out of one. Yeah, but it's not even a
right.
win. The win is not even the
Yeah.
win's before the stage. The win is when you look at your photos and you go, look what I did with all my hard work. Like, look at the glutes I built in the 3 years of competing, and then doing an off season and a growth phase and doing a build and then doing another show. Like, look at how much progress I've made. Like, that's where the win is, right?
I love looking back at my glutes. Like, that's always my favorite. Like, the look at like the time off, then lose weight, time off, lose weight. And like, it's
Mhm.
just to see the amount of growth from lifting and eating is so different. Like, just how different I look in prep, like compared to 22 was
It's cool
just
just to know
incredible,
that we
really.
can do that. Like,
Um,
that we can put time in the gym,
mhm,
and it's not quick, but like, it's, get started and then you look back a year later and you're like, wow, look at like all the improvements I made. It's just so cool. That's like one of my favorite things about this sport. But I don't think it happens if you
yeah.
are focused so much on, oh, I can't gain 3 pounds, or just, girl, get some stretchy pants. It'll be okay. And it looks good. Like, my husband always says, like, he
Yeah.
loves my off season look. Like, he's like, I just like this. Like, I like, like, he doesn't want to like touch a
No.
leg that's like just like a little
Hmm.
chicken leg. So so yeah, I think that
Yeah.
I don't think that gaining weight in the off season, I think it should be, celebrated, but I also think it's important to decipher between gaining muscle and just putting on a ton of body fat, because when you do that in a quick way, which some people have a bad reverse, and they're still learning about their relationship with food and learning about accountability, and just, sometimes you can have a reverse because you just didn't know what to expect, you weren't prepared, or whatever is going on. But if you pack on a lot of weight really fast, it's not going to be great for your metabolism, and then it could be difficult for you to lose that weight. But gaining weight slowly in an off season and building muscle at the same time, I think you'll find that when it comes time to lose that body fat, it's not that big of a deal, right? If you gain, let's say you gained, 10 pounds, right? And in 12 weeks, you gain 10 pounds. At best, what did you gain in muscle? Like maybe 4 pounds, maybe, if you're lucky, maybe 5. Okay, so you have 5 pounds of body fat to lose. Okay, well, you can do a mini cut and lose that, right? It's not like that. It's not that big of a deal, right? If you think about what it is.
Yeah.
But I think that there are people that will put on 30 pounds in 16 weeks and be like, I gained 20 pounds of muscle. And it's like, I don't know if that is true. But
Yeah.
hey, the scale is not the only indicator. Water, inflammation, all these things play a factor as well. So
It does. And whenever I feel like that's why you and I kind of say it. Our team really says it a lot. Like when you're done with your show, you go into reverse and then into an
yeah,
improvement season. It's like a two-parter. It's like it really is, because when you reverse, you're slowly climbing up your calories. Now, this is always like the detrimental part where a lot of people just like, oh, I'm eating my meals, and then like on Tuesday they'll go out to dinner. Well, you hadn't gone out to dinner in like 18 weeks and had,
yeah,
lasagna. And now you had lasagna. Well, the next day, if you step on the scale, or like maybe even the day after that, like, and you're up by like 4 pounds, something huge, you cannot think like, okay, I'm a horrible
yeah.
person. I did this horrible thing, and I'm only going to drink water, and I'm going to eat one meal
That's the
today. And
worst thing you can
it's
do.
like, listen. And what sucks is
Yeah,
usually it's a vicious cycle. Usually it's like a weekly cycle of like, okay, I did it, we're fine. And then like the next week, of course, like somebody in your world of your life is going to want to eat out, eat crappy food, drink crappy
yeah,
things, do something that's not aligned with your goals. And it's like, when we're in a reverse, we think that all of a sudden we can do those things too, all of them. And it's like, no, not if your goals align with like wanting to become a pro, wanting to do, show on the pro level. Like, that's not how it works. You just have a climb to reverse to slowly climb your calories. Don't upset your digestion. Don't upset your hormonal regulation. Water, like you said, inflammation. And then once we get to an improvement season, then we have like this surplus of calories that we kind of figure out, because everybody's body's different, right? That they can like work with. And
yeah,
then we just work on growing. It doesn't mean to say, of course, there's more flexibility in your off season, but that doesn't also mean you just go blow it every weekend and think that the next few days you can fix it. Because if you constantly go down that vicious cycle, that is how you do the 20, 30 pounds in like the 16 weeks or whatever, by that, because you can't stop it real fast. Because then also your hormones are nuts. Like, I know I talk about that with a lot of girls, because my hormones really dictated a lot of my prep. And like I will share, before I started prep, calorie surplus, healthy hormones, got them all checked. Everything was great. The only thing that my coach wanted me to do was like take DHEA, because it's going to help my testosterone. My testosterone wasn't bad, but it was like, it could be better. And so I'm like, sure, why not? Because like I did that and I ate on my nutrition plan, all that stuff, checked labs again. Labs are still fine. But then when I checked labs again, like closer to the show, as I'm in like a deep deficit now after, several weeks, like my labs aren't great. I lost my cycle. My estrogen's low. Like all this stuff is like thyroid activity is low. Like these things are low. And it's like, you go back to like, okay, I want to stay really lean and I only want to be a few pounds above stage weight and I only want to do this. It's like, at what point does your body be like, no, things start happening? It doesn't have to just be like, I want to say like you get injured, like you start stuffs like your brain fog, like your joints, your ligaments, like all of these require hormonal activity to function properly. And if you're neglecting that in your body, like you're at some point your body's going to tell you somehow, some way, you know. And you got to get, that's another reason you want to like spend your time in a deficit and then spend whatever time you need in an improvement season
Yeah, I mean,
and a
I think
surplus.
everybody's different as far as where they store body fat and how they store body fat and how much body fat they need to be healthy. I'm just going to use Ashley Kaltwasser as an example of an athlete who has she has the most phenomenal genetics. I mean, listen, that's how she won 50 pro shows. She's like the LeBron James of bikini, right? And so this is not
Yeah.
typical of someone who is a female. I mean, she has a cycle. She her hormones are not impacted by this sport at all. But some people are and some people are not. Some people are somewhere in the middle. I'm a somewhere in the middle kind of girl. I've definitely had preps where things took a turn. I think as I've gotten older, I adapt to prep better. My hormone, I mean, I still have a period up until my show. I mean, it's just different. But I think also along with that, I've got more muscle now. My body composition has changed. Those are things that help me. But some people like they need a break, and as coaches, we're always, when was your last period? Like we're making sure people have a healthy cycle because you really don't want an athlete to be without a cycle for too long without it just being detrimental to their health, at least short term. But when you're in prep, like you're not sleeping great and you have mood dysregulation just naturally because your dopamine levels and melatonin levels, like all these things are just a little bit different. And I don't want to paint prep as like the worst thing ever. If you're a first time competitor or you're thinking about competing, I'm not trying to scare anybody and be like, oh, being lean is like the worst thing ever. Like it's not. But that's why you really can't stay stage lean. Like there are some people that are like, once I get that show body, like I'm never going to lose it, I'm keeping it forever. And it's like, yeah, but you also shouldn't, like, in order to get show lean, like you start to get to where you're eating 4 5 different foods and that's it. That food variety is very important. You've got to take
Hmm.
time off from the stage and you've got to just expose your body and give your body nutrition and like just get to that homeostasis again. It's just really healthy. It will keep you in the sport longer, right? But I think, not to like, I don't want to like argue with you at all, but when you said about like, if you take this seriously, if you're at like, if you want to be a pro or if you want to, you know, go to nationals or whatever, like I don't think that should change how serious people take this, because when I think about the emotional impact of not taking my reverse seriously, like it made my life suck. Like I wasn't even at that point ever really thinking about a pro card. I was like a newer competitor and I rebounded so hard. I didn't take my prep serious or my reverse seriously at all. And like it like affected me for a long time. Like, I think just because I was like, oh, I'm done now, and then it was like, boom, I packed on weight so quickly. And then I was like in this place where, my body composition had shifted so drastically that it was going to take a lot to get me to lose weight again. And, I think if you care about your health, I think you've got to care about your reverse. Even if you never compete again, I think it's important
Yeah.
to do that in a really like planned and controlled fashion, because really the structure and prep is the thing that we all really say that we love. And sure, we're excited about the shape and we're like, oh, abs and like, all this stuff, right? But like people miss
Yeah.
that part of prep, of like the predictability of knowing what they're going to have for breakfast and knowing what their routine is, knowing what they're going to train. Just like that routine, it helps, like it aligns their body. So like to go out of prep and then now you're like, oh, I might go out to dinner. Oh, I might have pancakes for breakfast. Oh, I might have this. Like other things in your life like start to kind of like, you find yourself just like a hot mess express all of a sudden, when like 3 months prior you were like measuring out your water and like had your food plan and you were on top of your shit and like feeling like you had your shit together. So I think it's I don't want anyone like that I'm coaching to be like, well, I'm just doing like a little show. I'm like, no, we do this prep all in, like we're prepping for a pro show, like we take it seriously, because I think it's such it can really change your life for the positive, right?
I don't think, I mean, I would agree fully with that. Like we do a good job, like no matter what, like informing our clients, especially like lifestyle clients that lose weight, like you said, transformational, and they lose weight and they are like, oh, I want to do this, I want to try it. And it's like, we have PDFs, we have packets, we go over all of the expectations, the cost, the everything. And it's like, this is,
Mhm.
it is fun. Don't get me wrong. Like you look amazing. It's a lot of hard work. You're really proud of yourself. It also helps with so many different like avenues in your life. But like also flip side, like you said, as soon as you're done, if you lose that structure, you like lose a part of yourself
Yeah.
that you've been training for so long. And so when you do that, it happens so fast too. Like, and that's what sucks. Like, it's hard to stop it. That's why it's always good to have like open communication with your coach and keep that communication and be like, I'm struggling. And it's like, okay, let's talk about this. Let's figure it out. Because before you know it, like it all crumbles around you and you're just like eating, snacking in bed, and then you're snacking at the movies, and then you're going out to dinner, and then you're drinking margaritas, and it's like, whoa, like you're shocking your body. And also something I remembered, because I remembered some like friends of mine going through this who dieted really hardcore for a really long time. This was years ago, but this kind of goes back into like having metabolic dysfunction, because I had friends that dieted really hard for a long time, and they did well at their amateur shows, and then it was like time for them to take an off season, but they weren't taking an off season or an improvement season, and it just wasn't happening. And they would reach out, we would chit chat
Mhm.
about like life stuff like that, but they ended up having to switch coaches. And then when they switched coaches, it was like, we need to fix this. And so they had hopes to stepping on stage again that year. And they're like, no, like, you're not stepping on stage. You need to take like a year off, and we have to like fix this. And they were like, devastated. That's another thing. If you want to grow in this sport and you think you can hold on to that lean structure, and then you do that, and then like 2 years go by, and like something happens, or you realize that like, oh, maybe I should eat more or whatever, it could come as a shock that you do have to take some time off, not just now to raise your calories to grow, but because like you may need to fix some hormonal or metabolic issues that like occurred from
Right.
being too lean for so
And then I
long.
think being realistic about how long it will take you from that point to get on stage again. Because then I think sometimes
Mm.
people are like, they've got 20 pounds to lose and they want to prep in 12 weeks. It's like, that's cutting it a little bit. It's cutting it a little bit close. And then the other thing is, okay, well, you can probably pull it off, but at what cost? Then you've got
At
a
what cost?
metabolism
Yep.
that took a hit because you had to be really really aggressive. You tried to put on a bunch of muscle in your building season, and then if you have to be super super aggressive in your prep to get the body fat off, you run the risk of losing some of the muscle. So you're really not any farther ahead. So I just think like make sure that you give yourself like, look, I'm competing in June and it's January. Like this is a long process, but it will help me to stay in the sport longer. It will help me to have a longer season. Like, I want to make sure that I do things in a way that, I come in and I look healthy and I have nice full muscle bellies, and I'm, not just dieted to skin and bones up there, right? So being realistic about the time, or being loose on the timeline. Like, because if you say, well, I would like to compete in 16 weeks, and your coach is like, well, we'll see, and then we need a little bit more time, your coach should know what they're talking about, and in order for you to get there and be competitive, versus, oh, let's just, be super aggressive to be able to hit that timeline if you need more time, and you should take it. Um, so yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
flexibility is super important. And I think everybody, I mean, we've had people that are like, I have to do this
Yeah.
show because of XYZ reasons. But it's like, I think people should be really like open to any show at any time based on whatever they're going to be ready for, because you can really like damage your metabolism. Everybody's different. Some people may respond better to it, but like you could really damage somebody's metabolism for, a short period of time. Usually it's fixable, but like, and I say short period, I mean like could be 6 months, a year. I'm not talking about like lifelong, but like that's also time you got to take off from the stage now, and really
And
adhere
like,
to,
how
fixing
likely
that.
are you to do that
So,
twice? Like, I think about some of the things that, in the past that I've done in preps, and I'm just like, yeah, I would never do that again. Like, you might do it one time, but like if you have to do that every time, like the likelihood that you'll stick around in this sport is like not high at all.
yeah. I remember
Yeah, tell me the
I will
worst thing you've
share
ever
this
had to
one time,
do.
and
I want to know. And I'll tell you mine.
it wasn't, I don't think okay, I guess I don't think it's, I wouldn't categorize the worst, but I would just like laugh at how I talk about it, because I got to a point and I was less than 10 weeks, but I wasn't like 2 weeks. I was somewhere in there. And I was doing a movie's length of cardio, is always what I would call it. Because I was
Yeah.
doing so much cardio and I had the weight to lose. Like, get it. I look back on it, I'm like, fucking suck, or it
Like,
sucked.
how did I
But like
not
I
die?
did. Like I would I picked random movies on Netflix and I'd be like, okay, this is the right length. And then I'd watch the entire movie and then I'd be done with my freaking cardio. And yes, I would get up at like 4 or 5 a.m. just to get it out of the way for the
Like
day.
we work hard, but like when you think
Yeah.
about some of the things, like I'm like, I could never do that again.
Well, and you think like that's not once, that's five or six times in my week. And I had like
You
it
must have
it
really
was like
wanted
7
it.
weeks or
You
something
were
like
really,
that.
just really
But
getting after it. Oh my God, that's
yeah,
terrible.
yeah,
I
you commit, man.
I remember
Yours,
doing
what's yours?
like keto because that was like the thing. And I don't remember, the idea was like that you
I
couldn't
just
lose muscle, and it was everything you shouldn't do. This was probably like 2007. Um and it was disgusting. Like it was like bacon. It was like so gross. I mean, I got lean because I was in a calorie deficit too, and I was doing a ton of cardio. We did not have Netflix back then. That's how old this was. You changed the story when you said you had Netflix. I'm like, oh, you didn't have a VCR to watch movies? Because I remember going to like Old Gold's gym in like, this was like when I lived in Orlando, and they had like a movie theater cardio room, and just like whatever was on. So like it was Terminator, like most like 5 days of the week was like it was like Terminator. And I would do all the cardio, like a whole like 2 hours, and keto, just eating my bacon and drinking my MCT oil. Ugh. Oh God.
you know, I do remember, I do know a horror story of a coach,
Are
which
you
I'll
gonna give
never
them
say
away
their
by
name,
what
of
you
course.
say though?
But a
Because I
friend,
almost gave something away, but I won't.
no, no, I won't. No. This actually, I don't even think I've ever told you about this coach. This was just a crazy
Yeah.
freaking nut story. A good friend of mine actually experienced. She's not a bikini competitor. I'm blanking. I think she's a physique competitor. But she was with a coach who was keto diet, and this guy had her on this gnarly deficit, and she was like 20 weeks out from a show. Like she didn't have a show in sight. Like there was nothing close. He had her in this crazy deficit plus doing cardio, and her body like responded poorly, like wasn't moving, plateaued, felt like shit, like all this stuff. And she, of course, like she's a very responsible athlete, and she like communicated, checked in, and he's like, it's your fault. Like he was so mean about of course it's a he, there's a he,
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't matter, there's so many guys, but he was so mean about it. And it was keto, that like he would have days where she has to like fast and then only eat like low protein, high fat, cardio, and then days like certain times she couldn't eat at all and all this stuff, and then told her if she didn't get on PEDs that she was gonna like never succeed. It was really bad. He was horrible. And she was like, I have to be done with this. And so she finally quit and found a new coach. And of course, lo and behold, healthy diet, low cardio, high calories. Who would have thought? She lost a bunch of weight, like super happy. Like, I shouldn't say a
Yeah.
bunch of weight. She just like lost weight. But
Good.
like healthy. She got healthy. And she's like, but the thing is, and I hope a lot of our listeners take this away, because when you're in the thick of it with a coach that may not be great, it is hard for you to get out of it. It's
Yeah.
hard for you to see it, because you're just like, I'm going to do this because I signed up for it and I'm just going to do it. It's like, you got to talk about it. You got to like reach out, like be like, hey, do you think this is wrong? Do you think this is right? Whatever. So like,
And like
it
we're not
just,
saying prep is
yeah,
easy,
it
like
was,
by any means, because I mean, the pro
no.
card hunt was. I mean, there were days where I was like, Mandy, oh my God, this is so hard, just because I had to do what I had to do to get there. But like, we're really thinking more of like the more radical, like, fast for 24 hours and like things that really just go against like what like athletes really should be doing. And then also like, what is like physically possible. Like if you are trying to make like a 3,000 calorie deficit, but you're only eating 600 calories, like the math is not mathing. Like, and that's not like healthy, you know, but that's why prep is short lived. And that's why really weight gain and enjoying your off season curves is like, it should just be celebrated. I think the best thing that happened to our sport was when Jen Dory won the Olympia, and then in her off season, you were seeing her on dates with her husband, and she was in like cute dresses and like just rocking her off season curves. Like she still looked athletic. She had just very faint lines. You really couldn't see abs or anything like that. Just really just like a healthy, feminine, beautiful shape. And she was our Miss Olympia. And I think that was like the best thing ever because in the past you would just really like,
Yeah.
you know, you had like a girl's like Ashley, I'm not putting her down, but like she's not like most women are not like genetically made like that. And so to be like, well, this is the standard. And then you look at yourself and you're like, oh, like, you know, I'm so much softer. Like, can I ever like amount to anything in the sport if that's what like the pros look like? But when you really start to, you know, see what people look like and that they, you know, can transform and go on the Olympia stage and then win. You know, I just thought that was really, really awesome for our sport because
Yeah.
we needed it. We really did. We, again, like you said before, so many of these athletes are like only posting photos when they're in prep and then their show photos. And then for like a year, everything's a throwback and you don't really see them like day to day and what they look like. And you know, I've this prep journey, like I've been sharing videos on my Instagram of like 2 week summaries of like my life, and you see all of it. You see what I look like at, you know, 20 weeks out and what it all looks like and, you know, and how it all comes together. It's not just going to start
And you
sharing when I'm a month out, you know?
Yeah. And you have these podcasts to look back
Yeah,
on and see your
I
face
know.
change,
I
which is
know.
always
Yeah,
fun.
that's the funny part because I do like I get chubby cheeks when I gain weight. Although like last year, in my off season, that was the first year I was working with James. I hired him in September and we did a build until January, and I got up to like 130 pounds. And I compete. I'm only 5 foot, but I compete at 104. So I put on some weight for sure. And my first show, I think I was like 107 in DC. And then just as the shows went on, I got like leaner and lighter. So, and not all of that was muscle. Like I gained some body fat, but I had to like do some gut healing and build back some muscle on the other side of my gut healing journey. And it was, you know, the best physique I'd ever brought to the stage. And that was because I gained weight. So, in summary, it's not a bad thing
Yep.
and it's okay.
Absolutely.
And I didn't feel
Yeah.
ugly and I didn't
It's not.
hide. I mean, it's just different, you know, it's winter, I wear a long sleeve,
Mhm.
it's fine, you know. And again, the outside looking in, I mean, nobody would have ever guessed that I'd put on like 26 pounds and I was at the gym. No, they never
People
do. That
never think
nobody,
that.
and nobody's talking about
Yeah.
you and saying, you know, horrible things. Like we're so much harder on
Mm-mm.
ourselves. So just embrace it. Just
So
embrace it, your
much.
curves
So
and build
much.
your muscles and eat your carbs and everything will be fine. It's going to be okay.
Right. Yeah. But like you said, in summary, that is, that is the whole point of this podcast is to let everybody know that during your improvement season, your reverse, it is okay to gain weight. Don't let the scale dictate your mindset. Like look
Photos.
at your progress photos,
Yes.
look at how much
Photos are
weight you're
everything.
lifting,
Yep.
look at how much. Yeah. And then like look how much like you're lifting at the gym, keep track of like your amount that you're lifting and see how much stronger you're
Hmm.
getting. So, and also if anybody listening needs, of course, any coaching or any guidance, you can always reach out to Gillian or myself. Like both of us are taking clients and so are the other coaches on our team. You don't have to just be like looking for a prep. If you're curious about just, getting the better habits, learning how to
Build a
kind of,
booty.
build all of that, just
Yeah.
reach out to us and we
We can
can
do any of
build
that.
a booty. We can
Hmm.
we can help you with
Yeah.
all of that. So, but until
Have a good
next week,
one. Bye,
guys,
everybody.
bye.